Hey, I'm keeping well today. I'm chatting with Jack Regan, man who played with a lot of clubs, Leinster underage, Ireland 20s, Ulster, Highlanders, Ospreys, and over in Japan, among a few others. Yeah, great to be chatting. Some journey and amount of clubs you've had in the game.
A lot of clubs, Brian, yeah. Don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. It's been a great opportunity to kind of travel, I suppose, with all the clubs. But yeah, no, it's been a bit of a journey over the last kind of 10 years or so. So bit of a weird period, for me now, just kind of transitioning out of the game. So takes a bit of adjusting, but we're getting there. We're getting there slowly, yeah.
Yeah. And how was it like? So when you were a young lad, whatever, 19, 20, 21, just kind of say there, what was there like not something Leinster and then just look, had an agent and look for an opportunity and then other opportunities come.
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't have an agent at the time. No, I did Leinster underage, under 18 clubs all the way to like Leinster 20s, and then played Irish 18s, 1920s. And I was playing with UCD, and we were kind of in after Irish 20s. You kind of, well, no, sorry, after kind of Leinster and Irish 19s, you're kind of either you're dropped or either you go into the Hub Academy down in Energy Park there down in Donnybrook. We did some early mornings in there, and then that kind of brings you up to the 20s then, and you kind of know going into the 20s if you're going to be in the Leinster Academy or you're not really. And I was kind of told that Leinster didn't have a space for me, but Kieran Campbell, who was coming in as the Irish 20s attack coach, he was the head of the Ulster Academy, and he kind of like made me an offer, let's say. So that's how the Ulster thing came about. I'd no agent, like nothing like that at that time. Um, but that's how that came about. Yeah, going to Belfast after playing the 20s World Cup. So I would have moved to Belfast in probably July 2017. But had a great couple of years playing with the like Leinster underage, kind of absolutely, absolutely like loved it. Really from the youths, all the country boys, and then like mixing in them with the school-wise, it was great, really. And obviously, like living in and studying in UCD as well, it was a great like lifestyle, really. So, um, really enjoyed it, yeah. But the move up to Belfast was kind of where my proper kind of like living that pro rugby player life began, really.
Yeah. What were you studying UCD?
Sports and exercise management, but it was a three-year course, I think. But my issue was I did year one, and that was fine. And then year two, then halfway through, I got to move up to Belfast, and I tried to transfer up to Queens or Jordanstown, like one of them, but whatever way it worked, I couldn't. So then I dropped that course and just kind of moved up, like just kind of moved up because I knew kind of like rugby was what I wanted to have a go at, and I think I just kind of everything else then would just kind of sort its own way out, like and actually subsequently I ended up starting a degree in business management on the Open University. So I've been doing that now for the last couple of years now. I took a year out when I went down to New Zealand, but that's another story. But yeah, I've been doing that now ever since. So it's been going well.
Good stuff. What's the Open University? Sorry, I know it's like it's like an online one where yeah, you do it at your own pace.
Exactly. And I decided to do it part time, which is when I say manageable now, it's very, very manageable. You do it just kind of alongside the rugby. Like that's the whole idea from or like the way I was looking at it was while I'm playing rugby and making money, like it's great to kind of have, the way they say like about like a career in rugby can be quite short, which it can be, and it's kind of good to have like something to fall back on, like that kind of cliche. But now I'm kind of like like living that and grateful that I've been able to do that like along like along the journey as well. So yeah, so I've another probably year and a little bit at that. And as you said, like the great thing about it is it's all online, so I can bring it wherever I go, really. So that's another kind of benefit, like so.
Yeah. And what was it like then heading up to Ulster and that environment at that time?
It was exciting. It was exciting. There was a couple of boys now off the Irish tour who were obviously from Ulster, and I actually ended up living. I'll be honest, like going up was really exciting, but when I look back at my time in Ulster, it wasn't great in terms of rugby. I got a bad back injury uh, about 6 months into my time up there. I signed a 3-year academy deal, and I got a bad back injury, had an operation, blah blah. But I was out for the guts of a year and a half. So that's where the kind of injuries started, really. But what I loved about my time up there, and when people ask me about my time in Belfast, is I was very lucky with the guys that I lived with off the field. Because I was injured, I spent a lot of time off the park. So I remember, but I lived with, like, my first house was Adam McBurney, Marcus Ray, and Jacob Stockdale. Like, so I was in a great house, and like I'm still very friendly with those boys now. And then we moved out and moved into Adam. Adam bought a house, so I moved in with Adam and another fella. So that's when I kind of think like my time now back to Belfast. It's of off the pitch, which is great. It's fantastic. Like that like I got them, like meet those boys or whatever. Like, but the rugby just. Now I played a bit of rugby. Like I played for Ballyhinch. Like Ballyhinch is a fantastic club. I absolutely, like I love my time up there. Played a lot of games for Ballyhinch. Managed to get one cap with Ulster. Played a lot of Ulster A games, but one cap with Ulster in the RDS against Leinster. But that was obviously a big thing for me. Come back from the injury and that. So, but yeah, like I look back now and it's all I can think of is the back injury. Really, it was a pretty bad back one. I used to crawl around the house. Like I don't know if you ever had sciatica. So I had like
No.
sciatica for a year, but like no joke, I used to be kind of crawling around the floor in the living room in the apartment, and the boys used to be like laugh, like they'd feel sorry for me, but they were kind of taking the piss out of me as well. Like I just every day kind of like life was tough, like sneezing, laughing, coughing, trying to get in and out of a car. I had to like go real slow. Everything was just affected. But I got the operation and that kind of sorted out. So, um, but yeah, there's a lot there.
Geez, I've never had an injury like that or heard much about that. And so what sciatica, I've heard of sciatica. So what is it or what happened? Was it like something happened on the field and then it kind of jacked up your back?
No, so what happened was my so basically the easy explanation was I had a bulging disc that
Yeah.
was on the sciatic nerve, which was causing the pain. But basically, how I did it was I too many squats. uh, like I went in to the gym, and our program was squatting every day, basically. Like not every day, but a lot, and it was a lot more than I was used to in Leinster. I think that's how I did it. I remember training on a Friday and came in after training, and that evening I got a burning sensation about halfway up my leg in my quad, and I didn't think anything of it. And then over the weekend, it just turned into this all down my leg into my calf, just this like nervy pain, and that was a year on then, like year and a half on then, and like I was still getting it. So that's how it came about. Really, was the squatting. I think yeah.
Yeah. And so then was it before or after the surgery you were crawling around so you were like you couldn't.
No, no, yeah, no. It's before. So basically, I was only what was I 21, 2021, and I tried to rehab it. Like I went into the medical team in Ulster, and the boys were like, "Right, you can have it operated on." but like I'm kind of like 21. It's not really an operation that you want to be having at that age.
Mm.
Tried to rehab it. It did improve, but just my quality of life was really, really poor. Like I like struggled with everything. But like we tried every kind of rehab. Really, like we one of the physios in there, Jason Patton, decided to get like rotation into me, and the best way to do that was to bring a hurl into Kingspan. I give him a hurl, I bring my own hurl, and we just kind of we poked the ball to each other out the back on the Astro. Now there was a day or two where I kind of had to hide the hurl in the bag to bring it in, like. Um, but we did it, like we did everything, but there was no kind of relief. And then I decided then after about 13 months then to get the operation. So and thankfully now like I've had no issues at all. Like so it was a success, which is great. Like
Yeah, I'd say there wouldn't be too many hurls banging around Kingspan Stadium.
and no, absolutely not.
Yeah, and so then the back came good, and what there just kind of wasn't. You got a game for Ulster, and you played A's, and after the surgery, did you kind of have a good run at it there before you moved on?
Yeah, I got back. I did the operations September 2018, and then I got back in January 2019. And then we played. There's a thing called a Celtic Cup, so it came in after the British and Irish Cup. It came in
Mm.
after it. I played that. Um, Played really well actually. I was kind of like leading the line out. We would have played all the Welsh clubs, all the Irish clubs, and actually in October of that year, then we got to the final of the Celtic Cup and played Leinster in Donnybrook. And at the time, I was coming to the last year of my contract in the academy, so I was kind of going for that kind of a development contract, let's say.
Mm.
And I'm not joking. I actually had the game. It's probably the best game I've ever played. Was in the final against Leinster, and I thought to myself. I remember ringing that after. I was like up until then, I was kind of humming and hawing about will I get a development? Will I not? Who's coming through? Other second rows, blah blah. But I actually thought myself after that game, I would have got one. And then what even kind of reinforced that for me in my head was 6 weeks later. Then I came off the bench against Leinster in the RDS. So it was kind of all kind of lining up. But then we got into January. I didn't play any more games for the seniors, and then into February. And then remember over a weekend, lads were getting messages off the academy coach or someone, and they're like, "Can you be in the boardroom at like 9 o'clock on Monday morning?" And boys were like, "Who didn't get the message? Who got the message?" All this kind of just kind of. So, long story short, about 12 was the next game. And the next day got let go, and there was like one or two boys who were kept. So yeah, like that was 3 years in Belfast then coming to an end really. So I didn't really know. Now at that time I did have an agent and kind of wondering what to do, whether to go to the champ and all this. And it was kind of humming and hawing. Was I going to come back to Borough? Was I going to carry on playing with Hinch? So and then I got this message off Bronson Ross about New Zealand, and it kind of all took off from then. Really
Yeah,
took off.
that's so stressful those times. Just when you're mentioning it, I can remember now as a young lad, just like waiting by the phone to see if you've got into squads, or even when I started out, you'd get letters actually. And yeah,
Yeah,
and then yeah, just texted lads, did you get a text? Did you not? And then trying to
yeah.
add two and two. Does this mean? And you're kind of like sitting there and geez, you talk about like mental well-being. Like I remember, yeah, at times you'd sit there and you're kind of thinking, does this he's going in there at this time, I'm going in there, I've does this mean that I'm in or not? And you know, and yeah.
It's true. It's kind of remember trying to get. I actually became. I think I became the academy manager the night before, like the meetings. I tried to get into his head and like what he was thinking. I actually became him. But no matter what you do, you just can't control things, and you're just it's like easy to look back on it like now and say like you just like should have relaxed, but you just, as you say, you just I think because you put so much effort into it, and it's I don't know about you, but it's literally all I've kind of done, and all I've kind of put everything into it was trying to be a pro rugby player, and that's where it all just comes from, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and I think just on that, I've, chatted to quite a few different people and coaches and we'll say quote unquote experts or people who know this stuff. And I think a good thing I've heard recently is they kind of like looping in parents or stuff, because it's yeah, it's I don't think people can understand how those times for young fellas and probably any fella, probably even, contracts and whatever later in the time, but like man, it just feels like your whole life is on an edge, doesn't it?
It does, because like I've kind of it's similar enough to now actually with me retiring is like I've kind of always been known as Jack who plays rugby. And it's
Mm.
kind of well, it's kind of like what are people gonna like, especially at that time. Not so much anymore for me. It's like what are people gonna think? What are people gonna think that they hear that oh Jack Regan's been dropped from like Ulster, all this kind of stuff. Whereas now I'm kind of the opinion that like an article came out last week about obviously me retiring or whatever, and I'm kind of like, well, people are going to read that and say they might say, "Oh, look, did you see that?" But like after that conversation, nobody cares. Like nobody cares about anybody else. Like I don't say that obviously people care about their mates and their family, and all, but like acquaintances and people who like my experience now is that people have their own shit going on. They've got enough going on, so they don't care. Really, that's what I've learned. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that, and yeah, it's interesting. So I had a lot of challenges with that when I was like 23. I was over in the States. I did my shoulder real bad and had to get surgery, relapsed after it. The shoulder went again. I was out for like a year, 18 months, and I like, to be honest, went off the rails because I wasn't playing rugby and my whole, like what you're saying, my whole identity was Brian the rugby player. And it's like
Mm,
all of a sudden I'm not. And like you're saying there, things come into your head like what will people think and all this and
yeah,
it's yeah, I don't know. I suppose look, people, rugby players, people in general probably need support around that, and not tying your identity into what you do, but it's
yeah,
hard as well, and it's I don't know, it's challenging, and you'll go through that yourself. Like it is challenging, but it's true what you say there as well that people everyone, I don't know, I heard this quote before, but like everyone has so much shit going on in their lives that they don't have time to be worrying about yours, whereas you think that everyone's thinking about
and
you.
literally, I was at a my dad actually was at a funeral not so long ago, and he said to me, he was like, everybody say like love this man. He was like really well known, and it was around Christmas time, and he said as he was walking out after the funeral, people who were ahead of him, who were at the funeral, he could hear them talking about what we're going to have for dinner now later on, what we're going to do for the presents for the kids, and it just kind of hit him that like the only people now who are going to grieve really are his close friends, his family, like straight away, literally like 10 minutes after, and that's just life. Like it's the reality, like isn't it? So like it just goes on, like really.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And then for yourself after Ulster, so yeah, you didn't get that contract, and so or Bronson Ross, you mentioned that. So who's that person?
Bronson Ross, he's a couple of caps for Ulster. He's originally Kiwi, but I must have 20 caps for Ulster. But basically, he texted me on Facebook Messenger out of the blue, and he said, "Would you have any interest in coming down to play club rugby in Dunedin?" Um, he had connections with Ballyhinch as well. There was a guy who went to play in New Zealand who he knew, so he got his name off that guy I knew in Hinch. And I'll be honest, I remember I still have the message on my phone, and he messaged me, and I didn't really think anything of it. Like I was just like, I'm not going down to New Zealand. Like I've just had this really bad news. I'm just going to go home to Burr, like, and just kind of see what's going on. I've got an agent, and I'm kind of like, he's going to sort everything out, kind of thing. So, and then I kind of said it to my agent and all this, and I actually went to meet Bernard Jackman in Dublin for a coffee, just kind of chat, and I brought up the message that he sent, and he said it wouldn't be a bad idea going down there. So long story short, I kind of didn't have anything to lose really. I The only thing that was going to keep me there was, it's funny now, was my ex girlfriend who I was with at the time. We were together 4 years, or like 4.5 years, and I was debating actually not going because of her. Um, but anyway, I decided to go and went down. But that was March 2020, so I I arrived down there the 10th of March 2020, and I don't know if you've heard the story of when I arrived into Auckland with the immigration. Just a long story, mind. The club, so Dunedin, the Sharks were the club I was going to join, like Dunedin RFC, and the guy on their end was supposed to organise the visa, and he didn't organise it right, blah blah. So I landed in Auckland, had all these bags with me, and that's what it was. He had applied for a like 90-day travel visa for me. So when I arrive in with all these bags, straight away they're like, well, if he's only here for that long, why would it would like has he got all these bags? Basically, I'm going through immigration, and they pull me in for a chat. They're like, we want to have a word. So walk in behind them, and they say to me, is okay, do we have your consent to video this? And I was like, right, like I wasn't really in a position to say no. So anyway, long story short, we walk into this interview room, and they tell me to wait outside, and I'm sitting down, and this guy has this big camera in my face like this, and I don't really know where to look. So I go in anyway, and he's asking me about the visa, what am I going down to do? I'm down to play rugby. Is this guy organised it? Blah blah. So basically, he's ringing. I'm giving him the contact details for people, and then we're chatting anyway for about 10 minutes, and then he goes to me out of nowhere. He goes, are you aware that you have a page on Wikipedia? And I'm like, I knew I did, but I was like, I'm aware that there's a page about me on Wikipedia. Yes. And he was like, have a look at this. So basically he turned around the PC, and basically he was highlighting, he was like, we've read this information and it's flagged up on our thing. Basically, the lads back in Belfast, I think I know who it was, because on Wikipedia, like you can go on and like edit. So they've wrote stuff like Jack Regan has 12 kids. He's a like leader of a cult, and he loves giving blowjobs. So basically that all, and like, and bear in mind now, this fella's video and all this as well. He came with me. So that was that. Anyway, they got in touch with the fella from Dunedin. He got me through. And at the end of it, then I'm walking out, and I was like, "What? If you don't mind me asking, why were you recording?" And they were like, "We don't know if we'll use it, but we're shooting for the new like New Zealand Border Patrol thing."
Yeah.
So I don't think it's ever come out, but it's a funny story to tell. All right, yeah, funny one like.
Oh, jeez, jeez, jeez. That is wild. That is wild.
Um, but yeah, I was just so relieved to get through, because COVID was there was murmurs about this COVID. It wasn't called that yet. It was called like a virus.
Yeah.
But look, got down to Dunedin, and we were in lockdown 2 weeks later, and debating whether to come home or not. Spoke to the parents, spoke to the agent, and it's the best decision you ever made not to come home. We were only
Mm.
locked down for 2 months. We got back playing rugby, and I just absolutely loved it. Loved it down there. Loved it.
Yeah, what did you I'm living in Christchurch now the last 18 months. It's yeah, it's a cool place around here. But yeah, what was it you loved about it?
Dunedin. Again, I've been very lucky with the people I've lived with. I think that kind of makes everywhere I've lived, that's been the key thing for me. I luckily got set up with the club captain in his house. He's a builder. And basically, he built this really nice house. His dad was the head coach at the time. He owns a construction company in the town, and he
Hmm.
employs half half the team. And basically Jamie, who's going to take over, he built his own house. So it was this really nice house. I was paying like next to nothing for the week. I was living with Jamie and a Tongan guy, a prop off the team. So it was just the tree was in lockdown, and then Jamie's girlfriend as well was there. So we just like lockdown was great, but just really enjoyed the rugby, just the way not having any pressure really on you, but at the same time I was going down there with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, because I knew what I could do, like, and it was just so happens that the way they played rugby down there, just it was the way I love to play. So, just everything, the club, like the Needens, the Sharks is just an amazing place. Like I was only down there 2 months to go back to visit, and it's kind of like you don't leave, like you're kind of always part of the family. And I remember leaving when I had when I like knew I was coming back to the Ospreys. I didn't know, but they put on like a haka for me in the clubhouse, and it was just unbelievable. Like, so it's kind of nice to know that I kind of like added in kind of any way I could there. So it was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, powerful those the Hakkas and that tradition. And
Yeah.
so you when you went down there, you left Ulster Academy, and you're not making much money in the academy, kind of just getting by with those contracts, and then like you went down to play club rugby, and you're kind of still thinking you want to be a professional rugby player, but club rugby in Dunedin is like AIL, or it's and so there was no you went on to play with Otago in the NPC and play with the Highlanders, and so you were going down there with kind of no guarantees, were you? And what was the setup from the club? Like, were they helping you out with getting over there? But it was you were kind of just going out on a limb, or just going to have a crack, really, was it?
Yeah, it's a funny one. It's the club. The message said about the potential to play for Otago, and there's a slot at lock, but like they just wanted to get me out there. Like they had no pull on me getting into Otago. Like
Clubs will
because I
tell you
got
anything. Yeah.
no, but like I got out there, and they were kind of like, oh, we'll speak to kind of Tom Donnelly to let who was like the Otago head coach, we'll speak to Sass and let him know that like you're coming out. But like I played a handful of games, and kind of he wouldn't have even kind of known I was kind of into it. But it just so happened that I just played a handful of games and just went really well. And they kind of do it's good in Dunedin, because they do a weekly kind of team of the week, and they interview man of the matches after games, and that kind of people kind of get talking then. And game one, I scored the winning try as well, like a pick and go over the line, which was class. But no, go like if I'm to go back, no, like I did want to play pro, but like I knew even when they were like, oh, like a tag, blah blah, I knew that I'd have to go down and do it on my own, um, and that's what I did really. Yeah, like that's what I did. Yeah,
Yeah, and then was it one season NPC, and then so you went down, was it, and played this club season, played got into the Otago team pretty much not right away, but that first season played with Otago in the NPC right after the club season, and then from there, then got brought into the Highlanders for the following kind of pre-season. Was that it?
Yeah, yeah. It's a funny one because um played club, and then when they kind of notice you, they bring a group of kind of, it's like a wider training group in early in the mornings
Yeah.
to train gym and on the pitch. Now at this time, Super Rugby's still going. Like
Mm,
it's near the end of it. So like a lot of the boys aren't in training. Like a lot of those Highlander players aren't in training. So it's kind of basically the boys who are playing club in Dunedin who might make the Otago squad. So
mm,
we would have every morning at like 6 o'clock, because then like the majority boys go off and they're like labourers or builders. It's like, as you know, it's like a massive kind of trade down there. So
yeah.
I did I did those, and then played with the Sharks then as well on the weekend. So once I got into that wider training group, Tom Donnelly and the coaches were going to watch the games on the weekend. And then there was that, and then there was also a Tago trial games against like North Tago, or like inner games, probables v possibles, like that kind of thing. So off the back of them, I made the squad, and yeah, kind of I didn't play the last couple of games of the Dunedin uh, competition because I was in with the Tago. So then the Minor Tank Cup began in early September, and that went to November. We got to the semi final, and we were bet by Northland, but Con O'Donnell was down there when I was down there, and he had just been in with the Highlanders, and Homeworld was in Japan. So but he was actually playing for Counties Manukau, and we played them in Dunedin. But I spent like a lot of time with him, and he knew a lot of the boys in the Highlanders, and he knew Parry Parkinson, who was a big lock from Highlanders, who had just hurt his ankle. So he told me that they were looking for injury cover. Um, we went to Queenstown for Christmas that year, so 2020, after the Maritime Cup, and I got a call the the morning we were leaving from Tony Brown, who basically rang to say, would I come in on the 12th of January for preseason as like injury cover, and you'd be in until the beginning of Super Rugby. So not even like literally until the end
Six
of preseason,
weeks.
into exactly to the end of preseason. But luckily for me, I had Conan and a guy called Alan Benny, who now plays for Terranure. You might know him. He was
I
Lansdowne as well.
I
Yeah,
played with
Alan,
them, yeah, in
yeah,
Lansdowne.
and Conan. And after the Otago, like after the Minor Cup, we ran a lot, and then like me going into pre-season with the Highlanders, we ran a Bronco and a Yo-Yo, and it's the best I've ever kind of ran, and that kind of set me up. Brownie really liked me, um, and I played 2 pre-season games against the Crusaders and the Hurricanes and went really well. And then in the gym the following week, in the lead up to round one against the Crusaders, and Clark Dermody, who was the forwards coach, he's now the head coach, he came over to me and just kind of said, you're going to play this week, and just went from there. Really, it was unbelievable. Yeah, so long time ago now, so
Yeah,
far away now. Yeah,
class.
I
And
was on.
so, yeah, class. And so with when you were like after the Mitre 10, you were just obviously hanging around the South Island and thinking maybe
Yeah,
you'd play with the Sharks again next year and Otago again, and you're enjoying your off season, and you got that call. And did you get like a training contract initially? Did they give you some money to come in?
yeah. Injury cover. Basically, you're paid weekly. Um, you're paid weekly. You're paid, and I knew it was until the end of preseason. So I was kind of guaranteed this money until the end of the 6 weeks. So it was brilliant, really. and that's how it went. Yeah, and then at Tago, I met Tom Donnelly. Then he wanted to re-sign me for next year at Tago. But say after the first Highlanders game, then I was kind of getting calls from kind of back up nearer to home. So I was kind of juggling these things and trying to see which was the best. But yeah, hindsight's a funny thing, like so. Um, but that's how it went. Yeah.
What do you think with hindsight?
Um, I think staying in New Zealand at least for another year would have been the right thing to do. But that said, the Ospreys came in with a really good offer, 3 years on pretty good money, closer to home is not really a thing, but it is like it's obviously handy, like, but it's like I'd play anywhere, but just the security of 3 years, which is never something I had, and yeah, I think just doing the extra year or two in New Zealand where I was really enjoying it and flourishing. Um, but you know, easy to say that now, like.
Yeah, and so like, yeah, it's something really interesting. Like people would know it how like there isn't as much money in New Zealand, but it's actually kind of shocked me a bit how I don't know how just there's more money in rugby in the UK and Ireland than there is here. Like far more. Like even NPC like isn't that around 20 grand a season
Yeah, like it
for
depends. So
10 weeks?
there's what they're called provincial contracts. I wasn't on one at Tag on it. I was on just like I was paid weekly because I was not contracted. I was just like I made the squad, but I was classed as like wider training group, if that makes sense. But like, yeah, I think those provincial contracts are like they're not much. Yeah, they're kind of maybe. How much did you say for the 10 weeks?
Yeah, so because I know a few boys I was coaching here have been brought into NPC squads, and so it's I think 21 grand or something, and then if you're
Yeah,
brought in on the weekly stuff, it's like 1100 or 1050 or something like that per week,
yeah,
which is great, is better than working, but actually not. If you're like I don't know an accountant or whatever, it's not as much money. So like boys. If you're working, I don't know, like say laboring, yeah, it's more money. But I don't know, there's a lot of jobs where guys, they're playing club rugby and they're working whatever career, and it's like they would have to take a pay cut to go and they get called into a Canterbury or an Otago or whatever, and they would have to take a pay cut to go and ask their boss, hey, can I like just go away for maybe 1 week, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 10 weeks?
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a funny one. I think a lot of boys like you can earn a generous wage if you can get say NPC and Super Rugby. So like
Yeah.
a Otago is the dream really because they literally train on opposites or like the Otago building or where Otago train and their gym is on one side of the Forsyth bar and then the Highlanders is on the other side. So like something like that. But like you can make again if you're an all black like they make the top, but like Super Rugby is kind of known to be not great money.
Hmm.
Um, but we're kind of looking at like we're comparing that to, as you say, what you can earn up here, and there's a lot of money up here in Ireland and in the Prems. So, but I find that playing Super Rugby opened so many doors for me into money situations. Like if that makes sense, but like that's what it can do. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it's like I even remember like when you would have played for the Highlanders, like I didn't know you or whatever, but you just see this thing like, oh, there's an Irish fella after playing Super Rugby, like what? And you like
Mm.
see an article or something, and it's like it's a real stamp on the CV. You know, it's like it just guarantees nearly that, like you say, that you're down there. NPC is a quite a is a stamp as well of a certain level, but then once you have played Super Rugby, like you say, it just completely opens the door. It's kind of yeah.
And that's only like, it's funny. I played 11 games for Tago. I played two preseason games for the Landers and two Super Rugby games. And after the first kind of Super Rugby game, like that week, now I don't know because they do a thing like I was kind of named in the team of the week after kind of round one, and I'm kind of looking at the list of the team, and it's like the All Blacks and Jack Regan, like it's like, but it's not like literally after just the one game, I was kind of getting calls from France. I was getting calls. I'd Zoom calls with Gloucester, Ospreys, like um, just amazing. Yeah, as you say, it's kind of almost they've they're like obliged to kind of find out at least who you are, like, and just kind of just to make sure it's like legit, like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was a fantastic time because everyone obviously back up home was in lockdown and COVID was obviously kind of rife, so it was kind of really nice that I could give people at home kind of something to get up and watch. But it was actually really funny. The first game against the Crusaders, we did the captain's run in the stadium, and we were in the dressing room before it, and had a meeting, had a chat, and then they put up videos on the screen of our. There was three of us making our debuts, maybe myself, Billy Harmon, and Conor Garden Basham actually now, who's actually passed away, which is shocking. But to put up the videos, like wishing us luck, and just the videos come in from mine, and it was like, it's like voice from her, like my granny sitting here. I was like, go on, the Highlanders, and like Aaron Smith and Shannon, Frizzell, and all these boys are looking up and laughing. It was just a pretty surreal moment, really, like to kind of like looking back now, it just like it made like it was just crazy, like to have those boys looking at like my friends from home who were just like burlas, like it's unreal, like.
Yeah, it's wild how, and like fair play to you, like, but just how opportunity knocks, or how, you hear it, how like, I don't know, I think people are often not as far away from things as it might seem.
Yeah, well, as in, yeah, like it's so interesting with rugby because it's so subjective too, like the coaching.
Yeah,
It, if that's what you mean, like it's like not even my case, but like gosh, like people like there's a fella here from Burr, Ronan Lucknan, who you must know Ronan. He went to Ospreys. He's from Burr, like the hardest worker I know, and he didn't make it in Leinster, and he's gone to France, and now he's GIF qualified, and he like like the like world is this kind of oyster now. He just has worked so hard, and obviously the coach is over, and he's with Aurillac in 42, and they obviously saw something that they liked in him, and they persisted with him, and he's done so well. So it's just, if a coach doesn't like you in one team, it doesn't mean that you can't go somewhere else and do it somewhere else. Like Ty Byrne is the perfect example. Like, and that's kind of what I looked at as well. Now, obviously, he went to Wales and made it a success and has come back to Munster. I didn't get that far, but he's the perfect example. Like,
yeah, 100%. It's so interesting. That's what you don't have the perspective when you're a young fella, or you don't realize, when you don't get picked on a team, you think, oh, I didn't get picked on this team, I am no good. But it's
yeah,
literally, it is a coach's opinion, like you say. And I had it, yeah, when I was younger, like some coaches loved me, and then other coaches didn't pick me, or just, and
yeah,
you're kind of looking around like, well, I'm better than him or whatever. And it's just, you can allow it to get to you, and it's hard not to. But yeah, then all of a sudden, the next week, or just, you're just brought into another team, and you flourish, and you just play so
yeah,
well.
yeah. Yeah, it's a it's depends on the individual, but it can be, for me, it's just confidence kind of thing. Like I suppose knowing that a coach has the belief in you, like, is massive, and it can make you do great things, like, 100%.
Big time. And so going 100%, yeah. And going back then, so Highlanders, you're in pre-season, so that's like Fe January, February, March pre-season, or season starts late February or something, early March, and you played a couple of games. And did they sign you up to a contract then? So like they brought you in for the kind of the pre-season on the week to week or the 6 weeks, and then what happened then?
They brought me in till the end of preseason, and then my agent basically they've got a partner agency in New Zealand, Halo Sport, and basically their agent in New Zealand contacted me and said, "Oh, Jack, basically the Highlanders want to extend your contract until the end of the Aotearoa," because it was the year I was there, it was different because we just met with COVID, and it was Super Rugby Aotearoa, so it was only the New Zealand
Mm,
teams. And then the year after, they obviously opened up to the Trans Tasman one. But yeah, so they extended it till the end of the Aotearoa. Um, but I only played Crusaders and Chiefs, and then I kind of negotiated with the Ospreys pretty much after the Crusaders game. Um, so I didn't play the rest of the games then, but I still trained. I was a reserve for a lot of them, really. But it was just, I don't think I took it for, or sorry, I don't think I appreciated it when I was there at the time. Like, training with Highlanders and kind of some of the best players in the world, really. Like, people ask me who's the best player you played with. Like, people would say obviously Aaron Smith, but like, I'd say Shannon Frizzell's probably just an animal. Like, just an animal. He's probably the best that I've kind of played with. But Aaron Smith is obviously probably the big, like, name in it. So um yeah, it was great. It's great.
yeah, well, you look at right now, the All Blacks, they're missing Shannon Frizzell. Like when he was out maybe 2 years ago, and then he came back in the World Cup year, and he was just a beast. Like when I think about when they beat the Springboks in the kind of the Tri Nations or whatever, it's Rugby Championship last year, and then going through to the World Cup, like he was as a number six, like he's like a prototype number six, like just fast, strong, big, and they're missing him now.
Yeah, they're missing him. He's chasing the end, like, and he's dead right to, like, that's what a lot of them do. Like, a lot of those kind of top All Blacks is they go to Japan and like the box as well. But yeah, no, definitely he's a massive loss. But they've got, like, New Zealand will always have that strength and depth in every position, really, especially in the back row. So um yeah, class player though, class player.
Yeah, and so you signed so you had a load of calls with, say, like you say, Gloucester Ospreys, and all of a sudden, yeah, the phone was ringing, and yeah, so what, you chatted to a few of these different clubs, and then yeah, and then you definitely struck while the iron's hot and got a good deal there.
Yeah, like, I kind of upset myself at times. I depress myself at times. I kind of go back and, like, look at old messages from my agent, and he's like, the phone's hopping here. So, like, I like miss a call. I'd be like, this club's on to you, like, this up in France, blah blah blah. But there was a lot of, I think a lot of it as well was in the media. Like, there's a lot of kind of media attention around the fact that I played Super Rugby, the fact that I got a slap in the puss from Joe Moody and I did the haka, all that kind of spiraled everything. So that was a lot of it. But with the Ospreys, I spoke to Toby Booth on Zoom, and he kind of, one of the reasons why I went there as well, because he kind of saw me as a lock back row hybrid, so like an aerial blindside
Mm.
lock. Like the fact that I've played kind of Super Rugby shows him that I could be an aerial back row, and that's what he's looking for. And like, a lot of game time would be coming and this and that. So yeah, 3 years, I made the decision to go. Um, just injury struck again in Wales. But yeah, I hindsight, like I would have loved. I was upset leaving Dunedin, but also excited for looking into a 3-year contract. Like I was over the moon. Like really,
Yeah, you were kind of able to say then, like I'm going to be a professional rugby player, like full on proper.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and what injuries hit then?
Um, I moved to Swansea in July 2021, and the pre-season was really good. I was getting on all the coaches. I was played a handful of games, went really well in pre-season, and then the Scarlets week around Christmas time, I went up in a line out and I landed to give the ball down and pop, like say to the nine. And one of the boys in on the other team in training pulled me down from behind, and basically I went over my right shoulder and my left knee got stuck in the ground. I did my lateral meniscus. I was out for 10 months. Um, so that was really the beginning of the proper kind of where it went downhill for me. Out for 10 months. That was January 2022. I had the operation. I got back in October that year. That makes sense. Yeah, October that year. Got back, and my first match back was actually in Ravenhill against Ulster. Got back. I come on in the back row, which was great. But then come back in, there was a new coach who came in, a line-out coach, and for whatever reason, I didn't really see eye to eye with him. He kind of didn't trust me around line-out and calls and that, and basically he struggled then to get any game time really. I come off the bench for 10 minutes here and there, got really frustrated with everything. The fact that I wasn't Welsh qualified didn't help either. Um, Ended up playing 10 games for the Ospreys in total. But towards the end then, July last year, I was coming into my third year of my contract, and it was really, like last year was going to be the year for me. But July last year, about 3 weeks into pre-season, I found a blood clot in my leg. Um, and basically then rugby just went out the window then completely. Um, Found it in my leg. Oh, I went on 3-month medication initially, blood thinners. So like an initial like month of doing nothing. Then I could gradually get back and exercise. That brought me to this day. Was this the 27th of September 2023 last year? I went back in to come off the meds, hopefully get back into rugby. Sorry, this is long. I went back in, had the ultrasound. The clot had grown up all the way up my leg. So I was dealing with a consultant. He was worried. He was like, "We need to see what's going on here." Put me on new medication. I was injecting myself twice a day. While all this is going on now as well, mind, the Ospreys are kind of wanting to get rid of me. I'm wanting to leave. It's just all a bit of a mess. Um, they've got a player that they don't want who now has this injury that I can't play, but I'm still contracted. So it's all really, really messy. But it's not just a normal injury. It's not just like a hamstring. This is like my health. So anyway, went back in then in January this year. Thankfully, the clot had kind of hardened up. But basically, what happened was how I got the clot, first of all, was go back to my meniscus. I got back from the meniscus and got back when I would train. I would do a lot of jumps in the lineouts, and I get back, and every evening after training, my knee would swell up, and I'd like ice it every day for about an hour over the top under it, and I go really really tight, and basically that's how I've obviously aggravated a vein or something. So that's how I got it. But that's actually really important because I had a reason, like I had a reason, for the clot, which was then made my decision to come off the meds and go back into rugby. Whereas if I didn't have a reason, if I had an unprovoked clot, then I'd probably be on medication for life. So made that decision, come off them in January. In the meantime, I'd agreed kind of a payout with the Ospreys. I'd get paid out, and if a club came in with an offer, I could go, all that kind of stuff. So then, yeah, that brought me to March this year, February this year, and then I'd moved agents as well. Sorry, that's another something. And then basically Japan came. So, but yeah, no, sorry, there was a lot in that, but a lot happened in the last year. A lot happened.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that must have been a bit frightening with the clot, and but good that it's, yeah, that you know what it is and that, yeah, it's not anything deeper than that or beyond that. But yeah, I suppose that was probably, yeah, challenging, but then in a way as well, when you're a year out, you've the year left in the contract, kind of like, yeah, well, I've the year left there. It's like, yeah, they still have to keep paying you or whatever.
Yeah, and kind of that's where the anxiety as well started, particularly anxiety around my health. Was the clot was in my leg, but a clot can be very, very dangerous if it travels up into your lungs. Um, Pulmonary embolism, it's called. So I'd get anxious and I'd get kind of tightness in my chest, and I think straight away I've got a pulmonary embolism. I remember driving down the motorway a weekend away and like get this pain in my chest straight off the motorway into A&E. Very, very, very anxious. Um, Still to this day, like that's kind of what's a culmination of the injuries that I've had and just the anxiety around my health is what kind of led me to making the decision now in the last kind of 2 weeks. And the clot is where it all began, really, with the anxiety. I can kind of deal with a torn hamstring or an ACL or an Achilles. I can deal with all that, but it's
Yeah.
when I think I've got a PE and I want to go to A&E. I got a concussion in Japan in the back of my head, and only up until last week I was getting headaches, and that's kind of what tipped me over the edge. Just not worth it anymore. So yeah, the clot is where it all started. It's where it all started. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I know about the concussions and so like you got a concussion, you're yeah, having some anxiety around the yeah, your health because it's obviously I know exactly what you mean, like a broken leg, whatever. It's just it's kind of just it's not nothing, but it's just run of the mill nearly when you're playing rugby.
Yeah.
And I had similar, man. Concussions, like I used to, looking back, used to get them regularly. Got my first one when I was 17, and you'd kind of think nothing of it. Like I'm 32 now, so like 12 years ago, it's kind of just. I was lucky. I was playing Leinster schools, and they sat me out for 3 weeks, and I would want to come back the next week. I was like, I'm fine. But anyway, they sent me out, and then, you hide them. You get bangs in games, and you kind of just, it's just run them. You're like, our bit days there, we just play on, and always fine. And then 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, got massive shoulder to the head and was play. Unfortunately, wasn't taken off. And man, I had headaches for 18 months to like a long time, and the anxiety. I know what you mean. Then it with the concussions, they it throws you. It actually like with your brain, it like throws you like depression, anxiety, um, all that kind of stuff. Hey,
It does. I'm actually I only have had two concussions. So that
wow,
one in Japan and one in 2019. But the one in Japan was quite bad, like right down the back of my head. I had headaches for about 6 weeks, but I got back from that and it was fine. But my thing is, I I went back and played for Terranure when I got back from Japan, and 5 weeks ago was my last game. I got a bang on my shoulder, grade 3 AC. And then the Monday, Tuesday after that week is when I was lying in bed. I began getting headaches. And I'm lying in bed, I get these headaches. And straight away, my mind is like, you're going to have a brain aneurysm in your sleep. Like, I'm thinking of, because I think of things, I think, like, again, poor Conor Garden Bishop, who I would have played with, he had similar, he got a bang in the head playing for the Highlanders, played the week after, got another or whatever, and then he ended up think it was a brain aneurysm in his sleep, and that's where my mind goes, and it's not normal, not normal, and it's just not, and it affects everything. Like I don't know about you, but it affects my mood with people. Like I normally loved chatting or whatever, but it affects my relationship, with my girlfriend, people, my family. So it was just I'd put too much into it to kind of keep. Yeah, it was too much. It was too much. Like
Mm. Yeah, good on you. Yeah, being able to walk away and like, like you are because yeah, good on you. And I suppose it kind of can be grateful that, you got like the incredible journey you had and like to have the few years as a, probably well paid professional versus, kind of trying all the time.
yeah, it's what I've always wanted to do. Really, is to be a rugby player. Like Peter Dooley was always the one who was coming out of our earliest, and he was kind of the one that we would have all kind of looked up to, and the name in the paper, and everyone was kind of looking for Peter when you'd be at home in Burr. So yeah, no, I've no regrets at all. I 100% know this is the right decision, the timing of it, and I'm kind of glad in a way that I've kind of been able to make the decision on my own terms as well. Like
Yeah.
my body, my body's, my headaches have gone away. Like they were like anxiety as well, because I know that because they're gone now, and it's like. But sometimes I think, and actually, someone asked me this. They were like, if you were still contracted and all this was going on, do you think you'd step away? And I don't know till I'm actually till that's the position I'm in, but I definitely know the position I'm in, and the reality of where I was. It was the right decision, because it opens, like, it's it's going to open hopefully so many doors, like to kind of travel and kind of do other things. And I went back playing hurling for Burr there over the last kind of 2 weeks. So like just to be able, to go down and do that, like that's always been always in my first love. Like so it's but it's going to take a bit of time to adjust as well, But I'd like to think I've made the right decision, because ultimately your health, like your mental health, your health is most important. Like
Yeah, you're spot on, and I yeah, definitely think you have. Yeah, sounds like you have made the right decision, and yeah, it's yeah, it becomes not worth it. Whereas I think as well when you're a young fella, like I remember thinking I'll just play forever. Like, and I went to the States and there'd be fellas in their fifties playing and stuff, like seconds or thirds or I don't know, just playing, and it's like I just yeah, you get that last bang in the head. I was like, no, it's not worth it.
no, it's not. It's not. It's yeah, like you see everything coming out now around the CTE and the dementia around lads who played in the 90s and stuff. I do think though it's a lot better now. Like I think the contact has come down, HIAs are a lot better. Like I think back then obviously they were put through the ringer, like in training, like no such thing as like no contact. So I think we're definitely lucky in that way, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, definitely. And look, I'm not a doctor or scientist, but I think like lifestyle is huge as well, is very important. And like, look, like how much you're drinking, like, because I like I kind of stopped drinking, like pretty much have, but like the headaches, it got the concussions and having headaches. And then like I'd have a couple of beers and the headache, pounding headache the next day. But that's everyone gets headaches the next day after drinking. So I was kind of like, geez, I can't be like giving myself headaches. So, and then other things are like food, like eating loads of processed food or clean food, or if you're living a healthy lifestyle or, and stress, if you're, being real stressed and you're getting headaches. So I don't know, there's things I know I can do to not get headaches.
Have you ever? I've only started taking this kind of an Indian plant here. It's called It's called ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha. Yo, I bought it this week and just started taking it. Yeah.
I'm the same, and I don't know if the headaches. would have went away on their own anyway. But like, it was my girlfriend who recommended it to me. Her friend has headaches and she takes it, and it helps her. So it's been helping me, I think. Um, but it's, yeah, has it been helping you?
Yeah, I've only taken it a few days. I'll tell you, the biggest thing for me, right? I had after the last concussion, I had about close to 18 months headaches, close to every day, very mild some days, you barely notice it, but you'd notice it a bit. And I went on a retreat here back in January and kind of like 3, 4 days, and it was just like out in nature, blah, 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 completely just like de-stress everything. And I realized like I was stressed and I didn't think I was stressed, but the
Mm.
head, everything went and I was feeling incredible. And I was just like, yeah, like you say with the stress in your chest or whatever, like, I don't know, I just think the modern day, most of us, most people are stressed without even realizing it. And I was having these headaches, and you're nearly stressed because you're having headaches and you're working and you're this and you're that and you're just in a spin. Whereas when I don't know, I went away for last summer, did a couple of kind of breaks and whatever, and I just like realized, oh, I'm feeling incredible. And I just need to, I don't know, not be pushing myself so hard as much.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting that people kind of deal with it in different ways, though, isn't it? Like you're saying about how even like that, like for you going out into kind of nature and just
Yeah.
being how that helps you. I think for me, it's going to be speaking to someone, like speaking to whether it be a psychologist. I've actually contacted the Rugby Players Ireland, who I think are very good for kind of players transition out of rugby, helping them to kind of speak to someone. So I think that'll be my avenue, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I've done therapy too. Oh, about last year, the year before, last year, 18 months ago. I had never done it my whole life. And I was just like, last year, maybe it was. Yeah. And I was just like, I had been genuinely doing great, but I was just like, oh, there's more. I can be better. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
went for probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 times. And it was incredible. It was because, look, as well, us as men, yeah, we're not we're not in the habit of just like spilling everything out. You kind of just battle on all the time, and you grow up and learn to battle on. It's like work harder. And I just said I'm going to give this a crack or whatever. Went for that time, and then felt I didn't need to go anymore, and it was great, and it yeah definitely
Yeah,
helped. So
yeah. It's stress an interesting one. I always kind of think about it because I don't know about you, but like I would be the most chill, laid back person ever. It's literally just this health anxiety. Like I don't stress about like I used to stress about contracts, let's say, or think about it like that. I
mm,
go back to that like situation, but I would never have any tangible. I'd never be like headaches, chest. It was just when I think something could really be like when something could kind of kill me. But that's how drastic I think. I'm kind of like, do I need to speak to someone as well at the same time? I'm like, now that there's nothing actually wrong with me now, like, and I feel good. Do I need to? But like, I went to the doctor here in Burr 2 weeks ago, and he actually, I, I said it like this. I was like, I don't have like mental health issues. That's what I said to him. He said to me, "You don't have what they say. You're not. You don't have a mental illness." But he said you have mental health issues around the anxiety, which actually I think is fair because people. But then again, my circumstances were very odd, like how they came about with the clot on my knee, and then So I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like it's very. I'm not like I'm quite a chill person, if that makes sense. It's like not like I'm inherently stressed or always depressed. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like,
I know exactly what you're trying to say, and I think what it is, I know exactly, and what I think it is that yeah, you had every reason to be very anxious at that time
yeah,
because you had a
yes,
clot in your leg that literally could 100% have meant that it was going to travel to your lungs and
yeah,
die. And that was not you making stuff up like the way people go on to Google. A runny nose. You're gonna die of whatever. It's like no, you had every reason to be, and then because of that, you became very anxious, and then potentially, now you're past it, and you may have the potential to become anxious again, or the propensity to become anxious again if other things in the external environment happen to you. And it's just similar
yeah,
because when you were saying that, it sounds like me in that when I was my whole life, fucking love life, always great, everything, even when difficult things happened to me when I was younger, I was fine. And then when I was 23, did my shoulder and just got really depressed, was doing coke, was drinking, was off the rails,
mm,
and then just realized how depressed I was and I got out of it. And then I now just be aware of my well-being. It's like I don't see myself as someone who has depression. I
mm,
I just be aware that if difficult things happen, just to be aware of it, or be aware of my well-being, just to make sure that I keep being well, because there has been an external circumstance a few years back that made me that way
mm.
for a
Yeah,
period.
yeah, yeah. No, it's similar to me. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Is the for my situation is having every reason to be, you know. But I guess it's yeah, yeah. Sorry, my battery's low, but yeah, um, it's a good way of putting it.
No, yeah, brilliant. I know it's late there now, but yes, as we're just wrapping up, and cheers to the time. It's 11 o'clock there now, and in Ireland. But yeah, great chatting. And so as we kind of just briefly chatted before we record. So what's the plan now? Just step away from rugby, take a bit of time to just, I suppose, decompress from all that has been over that period.
Yeah, decompress, but at the same time, like life, as I said, for like you just have to get into like you just have to get into the next thing. You just have to. I
Yeah,
don't mean like just like that you can kind of not like haven't really reminisced like, but life just goes on. Like like it's been a wonderful 10 years and I've loved it. Like, but now I want to kind of go out and do something else and kind of be known more for just playing rugby. So I'm enjoying being back in Borough. I'm enjoying being up in the school. I think getting away for a couple of months to a year to maybe Australia or something will be fantastic. So yeah, looking ahead now. Looking ahead.
class, class. Yeah, exciting. Yeah, brilliant. Well, here it's been incredible chatting. Yeah, unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, class,
Really quick.
class connecting. What?
Yeah, no, it's been really good to come on and just like that's why I know kind of speaking to someone about like my own issues would be good for me because I like even just at the end there speaking about all that is just it makes me feel better as well. So it's good to chat like 100%.
Yeah, no, cheers. And just with that last thing, just yeah, thank you for sharing it because I know, yeah, grown up people, it's becoming better people talking about these things now, but I know when I was younger I didn't. And then when I went through that period 6, 7 years ago or whatever, I don't know, you don't say it, but then the more and more people that do chat about it, and it's just
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, yeah, it helps
But
other people.
isn't it unbelievable how like how many people go through stuff like that you won't even think like, do you know what I mean?
Man, the vast
It's
majority of the world.
yeah. It's good to talk, man. It's fucking similar things as well around the like rugby and the concussions. So it's good to kind of not just talk, but be able to kind of relate as well.
Yeah,
That's
no,
really good.
100%. All right, well, cheers. Been brilliant.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Brian. I've loved it. It's so what will have you got like a is it on Spotify or is it or will it just come up on your like Instagram or what